Episode 294. Today we're talking about some standouts in yesterday's matchup between Dallas and Colorado. Game in which honestly I was quite surprised to say the least and I know Dallas was at home, but to see them come out the way they did was really impressive. They ended up getting a 3-0 lead fairly early on in the game. Obviously, Wyatt Johnson scoring a high goal 9 seconds into the game, and then him being able to just contribute even more after that. Wyatt Johnson was one of the biggest names in this game, and same with Mikko Rantanen, two guys that Dallas have they've needed to produce in the series, and they have, and they delivered yesterday. And big game for both Ranton and Johnson. I thought both were fantastic. And you could just see how Dallas was generating off the rush. And it was the same thing with Colorado the game before, where they had home ice advantage and they were just creating 3-on-2s, 4v3 type situations off the rush. And anytime the team gets advantage off the series, off the rush, it's a dangerous situation for the defending team because the you're always looking to create offensively, you're always looking to be involved offensively, and you can really lose games from your neutral zone when you're defending because a lot of plays occur in the neutral zone, occur in transition, and you might not and Mark Massey said it on the broadcast saying you might not necessarily win games in transition and in the neutral zone, but you can certainly lose games pretty easily if you're beaten in transition and beaten in the neutral zone. And Dallas, they were just buzzing off the rush in this game. They're creating a lot of chances, creating a lot of havoc, and they were just especially noticeable with their speed off the rush, their quick puck movement, their east-west play, and how they're able to engage both the defensemen and obviously their forwards. And obviously they have a lot of skill up front, not just including Johnson and Rantanen, but you got guys like Hintz, you got guys like Granlund. Granlund's really underrated as a puck transporter in transition for this team and brings an element that they don't really have as much of, and he's been a really great fit for them. I've really liked his game over the course of the last few games too, and he started to ramp it up a little bit more. Mikael Granlund historically in the playoffs has been productive for when he was playing for Minnesota, when he was a top player for Minnesota, he was productive there. And I think when you're looking at Mikael Granlund, you still want some degree of offense, even if he's playing more of a middle six role. And I think inconsistently he provides it more so on the assist side than the goal scoring side, but he is still very well renowned as both a playmaker and a goal scorer, and he's very involved in both situations as well. And obviously, I think with Dallas, some other guys who are really noticeable outside of Hintz and Ranson and Johnson, because Ranson and Johnson both had 3 points in this game. Wyatt Johnson was the only player on Dallas to have a multi-goal game, and Hintz, Ranson, and Johnson, those are the obvious three. I think Cody Ceci is very effective too. And you look at a guy who's been very underrated for them and has slotted in as more of a top two and can be more of a number two, number three in Dallas right now with Miro Heiskanen out. Once Miro Heiskanen comes back, whenever that may be, you're obviously getting your number one defenseman back. But with Cody Ceci filling in that void for the time being, I think he's been very effective and been very underratedly effective. And especially when you look at the forward group, you often think about Dallas, you think about their forwards. You don't really think about Cody Ceci that much and the steady impact that he's provided, but he's been reliable defensively. He's been reliable shutting guys down. Of course, his physicality is his main weapon, and he uses that to his advantage on a regular basis. And I think he was just really, really effective as a shutdown D. And speaking of guys who are, again, really noticeable against their former team, Matt Duchene. And Matt Duchene, I really like his transition ability. I really like his coordination with his puck skills and the fluidity with how he handles the puck and how he's able to maintain speed with the puck on his stick. And he does a really great job of being able to maintain momentum when he has the puck on his stick and carry the play and use his speed and really weaponize his crossover usage. I think Matt Duchene's a guy who is still very productive at his age too, and even in the playoffs, and still provides an impact, still reliable offensively, and still is just an all-around weapon offensively. Thomas Harley had a goal in this game for Dallas as well. He was very effective. I liked of course, his in-zone play, I think, stands out the most to me more than anything else. And he's subtle in transition. I don't think he necessarily pops in transition as a carrier or maneuvering with the puck on his stick. He doesn't necessarily use a ton of deception, and he more likes to get the play moving north as much as he can. I think when it comes to his in-zone offensive ability and walking the blue line, that's where you see most of his creativity, and that's where he's able to generate a lot of his offense. And he's very reliable walking the line, being able to transition pucks, being able to carry the play across the offensive blue, and just being able to be involved not only offensively but more so defensively. He started to get better at his angles, his posture, and using his feet, using surfing, using modern techniques within a modern defenseman. And I think over time, we're going to see it get to a point where we could see Harley blossom into an even more productive offensive player and maybe even a productive two-way defenseman later on in his career. I think for where he's at right now, he's at a really good pace and he's going to only continue to get better, I would imagine as well. I like Mason Marchment's game. I think the thing that stands out the most when you're talking about Marchment is his power forward ability and presence there, and has been a really underrated signing out of free agency for them. Just has fit in really well, really nicely, brings that power forward presence and forecheck. Very active in the corners offensively, very active in D zone as well, and plays a two-way game. Of course, not the best skater, but I think he makes up for that with his sense and the smarts aspect of his game, and does a great job of being involved in all situations and just being able to be a reliable player for them. And then I like Tyler Seguin, and of course, Tyler Seguin's kind of one of the heart and soul guys of this team for a very long time. I think when you talk about Tyler Seguin, you're talking about a guy who's still trying to get up to speed and still trying to get adapted to. I don't want to say get adapted to because he's been with Dallas for a long time, but just get acclimated to the speed for the time being. It's not going to take long for him to get acclimated because he's very familiar with the group and stuff like that. But I think out, for him being out as long as he was, naturally it's going to take a little bit of time for any player to adapt to. And I think he's one of those guys who will just continue to get better if they're able to extend the series and if they're able to advance on. He's gonna be a guy that they're heavily gonna rely upon to produce as well. As for Colorado, of course, Nathan McKinnon, 2 points and 7 shots. And the whole line with McKinnon, Natchez, and McKinnon was probably the best trio all game long, I think. Outside of that, they didn't have too many guys going. Like Jonathan Drouin was effective, I thought, for the most part, in terms of forechecking, locking guys down on the forecheck, maintaining his shoulders squared to the puck and to the opponent to be able to create turnovers and stuff like that. But outside of that, I didn't notice too much from him, and I didn't notice too much from their other lines outside that top line. So it was interesting to see how basically one line dominated for Colorado throughout this game. You certainly need to rely more on your depth and having that presence if you're Colorado over the majority of the rest of the series. I think they're gonna have to be able to be involved more so in many different situations to be able to create and be able to stay in the series. And I think honestly, outside of that, I didn't notice too many guys. Like it was just McKinnon, Natchez, and Lehkonen both at 5-on-5 in the power play, and they were obviously a line that's been together for quite some time now, and they found some chemistry really nicely with one another. But I just think that that line, yes, it's good to have them going, but you need other lines going too, especially come playoff time. So with Colorado, a little concerning, and obviously they're down 3-2 now, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them force a game 7 and try and force to this series to 7. I think they have the will to do it and they have the personnel to do it.